This is the cast of Yellowstone, and these are photos from the SAG-AFTRA strike that's more or less shut down the television and film industry. Writers want to get paid. Go figure. Common thinking was a strike would crush any hope of Yellowstone returning to television in 2023, but the exact opposite is happening. In fact, this couldn't have worked out any better for fans of the show. The big winners might be the wannabe fans of the show, actually. I'm Billy Dukes, and I'll explain it all in less than 30 seconds. This video is also going to touch briefly on the latest Kevin Costner Yellowstone drama because Taylor Sheridan has been talking, quote, "I'm disappointed." Sounds like something my dad would say. Also, if you think Matthew McConaughey is going to keep the Yellowstone plotline rolling when he begins his sequel, you're going to be disappointed. We have reason to believe that project is very different from the one that stars Kevin Costner, Cole Hauser, Kelly Riley, and more. Please consider tapping subscribe and pay attention to the time codes in the description section below. This video is a little bit long, but after this update, my Dutton Rules podcast co-host Addison Hager and I will go a little bit deeper into what's happening for the first ever video version of the podcast. I'm not just being polite when I say I want your feedback. Comment below and tell us what you think of the new format. We're experimenting over here. The big Yellowstone news is fairly straightforward. Yellowstone is coming to CBS this fall. That's right, for the first time ever, watching Yellowstone won't cost a dang thing. It also makes the web of platforms that have the rights to the show even more complex, but that's news for later. There's no premiere date, but at some point during the fall CBS season 1 of Yellowstone will start. It's going to be Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Remember, there are just 9 episodes from season 1 and 10 from season 2, so we could get halfway through the series by like May. Here's why this is important. It's been 5 years since season 1, episode 1, Daybreak, debuted on Paramount Network. If I recall, it started with a scene that finds John Dutton coming upon a horse that's been killed. That sets off a tremendous feud with Dan Jenkins. Y'all, if you have not watched because you just joined for the later seasons, this is your chance. The first 2 seasons of Yellowstone might be the best 2 seasons. Streaming rights still belong to Peacock, so if you miss it on CBS, you'll need to find it there. I wonder if the agreement allows for mid-season reruns. Time will tell. I'm going to keep this next part brief, and I'm going to avoid Kevin Costner's divorce drama except for how it informed his role on Season 5 of Yellowstone, or what's left of Season 5. Through those documents, we learned that he's not contractually obligated to do any more filming, which means he likely won't. Hopefully Taylor Sheridan filmed ahead, because otherwise it's going to be some sort of lame car crash death for John Dutton. Quote, "I'm disappointed," Taylor Sheridan says. "It truncates the closure of his character. It doesn't alter it, but it truncates it." Short version of what happened is Kevin Costner wants to work on his movie Horizon instead of on Yellowstone, and there's a pretty good reason for that Addison Hager and I will get into in just a few minutes. But if you're thinking money is involved, you're right. Kind of a fun anecdote from Taylor's interview with The Hollywood Reporter. Kevin was pretty upset where John Dutton was headed after season 2, to which Taylor told him, "Kevin, I told you this is essentially The Godfather in Montana. Get over it, bruh." Alright, I might have added the bruh, but you kind of get the point, right? Do you see the Godfather comparisons? Comment below, let us know. Finally, common thinking is that the week after Yellowstone wraps, a new series starring Matthew McConaughey begins. I still think that's pretty unlikely because in interviews, Taylor has only said that he has a broad strokes concept of what the show is about. I mean, and nothing's written, and he can't really write it now because the Hollywood writers, they're also striking too. Also, last I checked, Matthew wasn't 100% confirmed, but it seems pretty likely. The new series isn't likely to be an extension of the Montana Duttons like we thought it might be. This isn't Frasier continuing on after the end of Cheers. Quote, "My idea of a spin-off is the same as my idea as a prequel. Read into that what you will." That's pretty interesting. Go on. Quote, "There are lots of places where a way of life that existed for 150 years is slamming against a new way of life, but the challenges are completely different. There are lots of places you can tell that story. To assume it's Montana, or that it includes any of the current cast members from Yellowstone is a big old stretch. Guys, I think this could be an entirely different show set in Texas, Idaho, Oklahoma, or New Jersey." Okay, probably not New Jersey, but you get the idea. And joining me now for a deeper conversation is Taste of Country's Addison Hager. Hello, Addison!
Man, I've missed that. I don't think we've done that on our other podcast episodes, actually. Thank you. Hey, Billy. I'm glad to be
Yeah,
here.
this is the first time people have seen it on video. So,
Yes.
yep, this is us. If you're a longtime follower of the Dutton Rules podcast, sorry to disappoint you, but this is what we look like.
Back and better than ever. Now you can see our facial expressions and when Billy rolls his eyes. Or when I do.
Totally. And yeah, exactly. Which is more likely.
Well, I'm excited for this news because as if people who've been listening to the podcast for a while, I guess when it started, I came into Yellowstone season 4. Like I had no pretense whatsoever to what was happening on Yellowstone. You essentially filled me in quickly and I kind of like spark notes some things to understand like, okay, what is happening here? But I literally don't know any of the like actual season 1.
You know what kind of worries me about all this? And if you glossed over the beginning, like CBS is going to present episode or seasons 1 and maybe even 2, 3, 4 of Yellowstone starting this fall. It's going to be a Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern time start time. No premiere date, but they're starting with season 1. Like they have to do all seasons now. Like they can't just do season 1, season 2, and then boom, the strike's over. We go back to normal programming and leave us hanging.
Right.
Like they're on the hook now for the whole show on CBS.
I personally think that's brilliant because number one, we don't know when, or wait, remind me, do we know when season 5 is coming out of Yellowstone?
It's continues to be pushed because now of the strikes. We thought summer, then we thought November, and now it's looking probably not until 2024.
Yeah, so it's one of those of it kind of like continues to whet our appetite, keep us full of, I mean, it's brilliant of like Yellowstone, Yellowstone, Yellowstone. And then, instead of a lull of nothing, I think you're making some lemonade out of lemons. That's the same, yeah.
I don't know why they haven't done this before. And there's a lot of good shows on those streaming platforms that like would be great network dramas. Sterling, who is often on the podcast, brings up a good point that he can't figure out how they're going to edit any of the episodes of Yellowstone to be appropriate for broadcast television and get past the censors.
I didn't think about that.
I see his point. But I also think to myself, ain't my problem, bro. Like,
we stay in our lane and don't worry about the other lanes.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a saucy show. They're going to have to do some overdubs or something like that. And
didn't even think about that.
There's some violence in episodes of Yellowstone that I really wonder how they're going to put just some of the most violent broadcast television you'll have ever seen is coming your way to CBS.
Yeah, because if you cut it out, you're missing huge plot holes is what ends up happening.
Yeah. Well, the one scene that comes to mind in particular was, I believe it was deep into season 2.
Okay.
It's the scene where Beth Dutton is attacked in her office by, I believe the Beck brothers sent some henchmen.
Yeah.
And it is a vicious attack.
Yes.
I mean, it holds nothing back. Like, how does that get on Sunday night broadcast? That's gonna be fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, even for me, I've watched all of the seasons, but it's been a while here, so I think it's going to kind of reframe, I think, for a lot of people who are in my same position, like how we think of modern Yellowstone, because we'll remember little details, and I'll also get another chance to go deep into the Yellowstone family tree, which is delightful.
Your favorite thing. Well, I think for me too, I have a good feeling I'm going to be having a lot of like, oh, like a little aha moments because I don't know a ton of the backstory. But should we let listeners kind of know like our plan podcast wise?
Yes, go ahead, because I'm not sure I know it fully myself.
Dang it, Billy. I was hoping you were going to take that a little bit more. Well, essentially what we're going to be doing as CBS airs the seasons of early Yellowstone, we're going to be covering them. Kind of what we do for the Dutton Rules already. I mean, our Yellowstone podcast of, recapping them, saying our thoughts and, it'll be fun because it'll come from the perspective of you're rewatching it. It might have different perspectives than I'm watching it for the first time. So it'll still be, I think, a fun listen.
And to be pretty candid as well, this episode of the podcast is a bit of an experiment for us. I mean, it's kind of, it's our first on YouTube, and it follows up that short recap video. we're playing with an idea where we have the usual YouTube video recaps, which maybe you've watched, maybe you haven't, but those usually are 8 to 10 minutes long. They recap an episode.
Mhm.
We're adding the podcast to the back end of it, or at least the meat of a podcast to the back end of it, in hopes that the YouTube audience is also interested in the podcast. If that's not the case, I don't necessarily know if we'll keep doing that. We might find that people just like the recap videos and then like to experience the podcast sort of separately.
Mhm.
Trying to find a way to serve everybody in the best possible way. So staff at tasteofcountry.com is always a place for questions and comments, but now a little bit of feedback on this new format as well.
Yeah. Really, do you like seeing us or not?
Kind of it. It's kind of it.
It is kind of.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call it what it is.
Yeah.
Well, can we talk a little bit, enough about us. Can we talk about Kevin Costner and understanding a little bit more? We're going to come into season 5 with essentially he's going to be dead or, off the show in to some capacity. Can you quickly recap why he's not coming back, why his contract ended up being released, for those who might be a little confused?
Well, during his divorce, we got some clarification on something that had been rumored for a really long time. And that's Kevin Costner essentially worked season to season. Like he was never confirmed for the next season. And he mentioned this himself kind of early on. He thought Yellowstone was going to be a big 10-hour movie, almost like 1883, and that was it. But then it turned into season 2 and season 3. Each new season he signed on. So he signed on for season 5. And the episodes he signed on for have run. I don't know if they've filmed additional episodes and just not run them yet. That's certainly possible. But he's not contractually obligated to do any more season episodes of Yellowstone, which is, I roll a little bit because it's like, come on, Kev, you knew you can't leave us all hanging like that. But he can, and apparently he's going to, because he may not return, very likely won't return to the set, in large part because of this movie Horizon, which in the divorce documents, his wife frankly states they feel that movie as there's a lot more potential for money and a lot more potential for an income with Horizon than there could be in Yellowstone, even though he's making like $1 million or $2 million an episode of Yellowstone. Like they feel Horizon's where the money is, so they're chasing the bag, as they say.
Well, and I think that's interesting too, even kind of how you had said, just, Kev, why didn't you, stick it out? And we kind of like, as the viewers, you lean into the more emotional side of it. Like, how could you, just disappear halfway through the season? Like, we want you here. Where he's been in this industry, the entertainment industry, for forever. And so it's, it's interesting to see kind of like this is a business for him. And so maybe a little bit of the less like emotional pull and of like, okay, I'm going to go where the money is. This is like my 9 to 5 at the end of the day, where, for us, we're stemming from the more emotional side of the why behind leaving.
It's also interesting is I'm surprised that more of the cast hasn't kind of drifted off for kind of the same reasons, because, even if they're signed up for a couple of seasons, if you're like an Ian Bowen, for an example, you're not making a tremendous amount of money on Yellowstone, right? I don't think, especially early on. You're getting paid per episode, and there's only 8 or 9 episodes. It's not like the old days with sitcoms or television dramas where there's 22, 23 episodes, so you have a really lucrative year. If he's getting paid $50,000 an episode, that's $500,000. He could probably make that money elsewhere and maybe even do a little bit better. So it's surprising to me that more actors from the show or other shows haven't kind of followed suit like Kevin.
I guess my only 2 cents to that, and I don't know Ian as much has had this opportunity, but let's say Luke Grimes, he's been in a lot of Stetson commercial. Luke, I don't know about Luke Casey, but my point being is stuff that's very tailored to his character, essentially. Sure. And so it's kind of helped him in that sense, where if he started doing other things, maybe not. But like I said, Ian, I don't think he necessarily falls into that. I haven't seen him anywhere. I've seen Jen Landon.
People have been able to do some other movies. Like I know Kelly Riley was in a movie.
Really?
Kind of in between seasons. So they filled those gaps. It wasn't like a major motion picture, but it was
something.
It was a film, maybe a European film or something she's been in. So they have worked outside of this, but not a lot, and certainly not in episodal television.
Interesting. Yeah, time.
So I don't know. I get mad at Kevin because he's leaving, but then as a capitalist, it's like, okay, well, I see what you got to do.
Yeah.
This is his right to go make that money. I can't hold him back from that, even though I personally think he's being a jerk.
Well, I think this new season is truly going to circle so much around probably Jamie and Beth. I mean, hello, how we ended the last season. But let's be real. We've been saying that we're surprised Yellowstone has still been, we keep dragging out the storyline. So if I'm being honest, I mean, other than, he's the pillar of the Yellowstone Ranch, we could maybe do without Kevin Costner, and I'm still going to be watching it. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much other drama that I'm more interested in. I didn't turn on the television going, oh, what's Kevin Costner? I mean, what's John Dutton going to do next? It was more like, is Beth going to take out her brother?
He was the anchor. I don't know the show would have survived more than one additional season without Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
But given the sort of the arc of the show to this point, and kind of how we've all said it hasn't been as good the last 2 seasons, I'm not heartbroken that we're wrapping up after season 5. If anything, I'm excited to have a chance to watch the reruns without having to go back and find them on Peacock, which is yet another streaming service, and I no longer have Peacock, so this is this works out really well for me.
They did it for you, Billy.
Teed it up for me.
Yeah,
they might have. I don't know.
Matthew McConaughey, he's now a part of this mix, but I think what was interesting is I guess maybe give a little bit of backstory here. It's not confirmed what show he is going to be on. He is going to be a part of the Taylor Sheridan franchise, but it might not be like an 1883, 1923, right?
He might not be a Dutton. And this next sequel or spinoff may not have to do with the Duttons in Montana. I've always felt that we've done and by we, I mean the media in general, there's been a lot of jumping to conclusions. I never saw Matthew McConaughey celebrate being part of the Yellowstone family. Like, True. I don't know if the ink is necessarily dry on that contract.
True.
People said it was a sequel. I think they assume that means he's going to be part of the John Dutton universe. Like, we've tried to be really careful when we've suggested some of our own hypothesis. For example, like, we've long thought that maybe he's going to be part of the 4 Sixes Ranch show, which still seems possible. But based on Taylor Sheridan's quotes, he's saying essentially there's a lot of other places that are having these same kind of problems where, like, man and nature are sort of colliding, and it's this old school versus new school mentality. And he sort of stops there and doesn't describe where he's thinking or what he's thinking about for this new show. That tells me that it's not going to be in Montana, or very well may not be in Montana. And certainly the odds of including some of these current cast members seem pretty thin right now.
Interesting. I mean, I guess ultimately just interesting. And I think too I don't know if we're ever going to see the 4 Sixes Ranch. I was genuinely so excited to watch that. And I know we couldn't hang the show on Jimmy. And so that's why I think a lot of us thought, okay, Matthew McConaughey totally makes sense. Dude, I don't know if that show is ever going to air. I would like it to. It's based in Texas, which yeehaw. So I'm from Texas.
But I don't even know what's that show about. Like that's the thing I've never truly understood is, what is the 4 Sixes show? Even as we've kind of visited the 4 Sixes Ranch through Yellowstone, like, there's not a clear plot about what's going on there, or like any trouble or drama.
Well, I think it was the drama of brucellosis. Is that right? What the cattle were?
That's the illness.
Yeah.
Right.
Aren't you proud of I remember that one. And so thank you. If I don't remember anything, it's brucellosis. We ended the Yellowstone season with Rip and them going to Texas to take the cattle. So I think it would be more so a merging of 4 Sixes, Rip and that crew, and anything that Taylor Sheridan puts his hand on, a drama.
Yeah. But the plot was never obvious to me, so I never had a chance to really get excited for it. I think we'll see it in some capacity. But I kind of wonder where, like, some of these other areas that Taylor Sheridan's referring to are. Like, I think of other rural areas. Alaska?
Doing what?
There's a lot of nature meets man drama in Alaska where you're fighting the elements and trying to preserve a way of life.
Okay.
All right. You're not sold in Alaska. I see.
I mean, no, I don't disagree. I'm interesting.
Oh, I mean, any of those states in that area, too, Idaho, Wyoming, even parts of Colorado, other parts of Montana. Like, look at a show like Joe Pickett. Like, that could be the plot for Yellowstone as well. That show takes place in Wyoming, I believe. But that could be another sort of theme, I guess, where there's, Matthew McConaughey is a lawman trying to preserve a way of life or something. So there's a ton of ways to go with this, I guess. Let's be honest. It's Matthew McConaughey. You're watching no matter what he is, aren't you? I mean,
you betcha. I'm surprised I haven't run it.
Yeah.
I live in, if you couldn't tell by the hat, it says Austin, and he lives here, and I've still yet to run into him. I'll ask him though.
What's a big city?
Yeah, well, it's big and small. Next time I see him, I'll ask him for the deets. I'm sure he will absolutely tell me.
Have you read into this theory at all about how Yellowstone is like the Godfather movie?
No,
trilogy?
But I will also admit I've never seen The Godfather, and so can you give me a little spice of why?
Yeah, I mean, if I've seen the God years and years ago. I'm not a movie buff by any stretch of the imagination. I know I've seen The Godfather, and I think I've seen all the sequels as well. But the idea being that he's sort of a mob boss of sorts, and looking to protect the family. I think that's the theory, where they look for all these sort of similarities. So as season 1 starts over again, I'm kind of excited to kind of watch Yellowstone through that lens a little bit and kind of explore maybe a little bit why people are saying the Yellowstone and Godfather are similar.
Interesting. I'll have to kind of see from that perspective as well. I mean, I kind of get it.
We briefly at the start of the video we mentioned the reason for all Yellowstone coming to CBS. Start of the video, start of the podcast. I guess I'm gonna have to remember that there's people listening and watching. And forgive me if I don't get that right immediately. And it's not a footnote here that it's because of the Screen Actors Guild strikes, the writers' strike. When they have these, they tend to go on for a really long time, and then sort of the machine gets cranked up again. So like even when the strike ends, it's not like we get new episodes of a show the next day. Like as far as we know, they haven't filmed the rest of Yellowstone. So
Gonna take a hot second.
I don't know. 2024, spring, winter, 2024. Are we gonna get it?
Well, we have plenty.
Where are we at with 1923? We haven't even talked about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, but I'm absolutely not Cassie Randolph. Cassie is her sister. Oh my gosh, Michelle. I follow her on Instagram, and that whole crew still. I mean, if they are actively hanging out in Colorado all the time, and I know that she lives in LA, so it's interesting.
The one show that I think did film is the Bass Reeves show, Lawman Bass Reeves, starring. I can't pronounce his name because it's not right in front of me. That was a spinoff of 1883, and that show has filmed. I saw some pictures of Daniel Quaid on set.
Cool.
So they could slide that one in there if they got it all done before the strike started.
This is all just TBD. Just TBD.
What are you watching in the meantime?
Oh, Billy, you know what I'm watching in the meantime. I'm watching...
I do. Let me go grab my pillow and my nightlight and my eye mask as you talk about it.
I'm currently watching, which probably anyone who's listening to this for a Yellowstone podcast, I mean, you might be the minority who also watches this, but I just feel like these two shows do not go together. Get the good old Bachelorette.
Yeah.
You knew that.
Oh, I thought you were watching The Golden Bachelor.
Oh, no, that doesn't start yet. Just if you wanted to know.
Well.
That's in the fall.
Okay. Yeah.
That doesn't start yet, and nor do I. I'll probably watch the first 2 episodes. I can't say that that's going to be something I'm going to be tuning into, but I'm watching the good old Bachelorette.
Okay. Fair enough. No judging. I've been watching Joe Pickett, which is a tremendous show. It's on Paramount Plus as well. Tried to get through the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes.
I can't remember the title of it. The last season hasn't really worked with me so far. That show is really that show it's not bad, but it's not nearly as good as it was early on.
It looks boring, if I'm being honest. I know exactly what you're talking about. But he's strong.
It was super cute and charming early on. Like, she was delightful and the acting was good. Now it's kind of like repeats and you realize the stand-up comedy's not good. Anyways, and then I've been burning through Ghosts. Are you familiar with that show on CBS?
No. I haven't even heard of that.
No, it's a sitcom. You've probably seen the promos on CBS. It's the one with the dude has the arrow through his neck.
Billy, I've never seen that advertisement.
It's like there's like 40 episodes of it. The woman buys a mansion and it's inhabited by ghosts. There's a big Viking. There's the dude with the arrow through his neck. There's the dude with no pants. There's the Native American. There's the 1920s jazz singer. And then there's Sam and Jay, who are the delightful livings.
No, but actually,
it's kind of their...
This looks fun. I've never seen this.
It's fun.
I'm currently Googling it.
It's not amazing. I'm not going to say it's highbrow television. But it, if you need, sometimes I just need like a 25-minute show just before bed. You know what I mean? Like something to kind of take the day's stress off.
Yeah.
And it gets the job done.
Some feel good, some lightheartedness. I'm also watching, which this is, you're going to eye roll it. You won't eye roll, but it's very much so in the same like bucket. On Amazon Prime, I'm watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. You might not have even heard of that.
I have seen it, but I didn't spend a lot of. No, I mean I've seen the thumbnail.
Okay, I was like, really?
Description, but no, I haven't seen the show. No, is that aimed for the younger preteen audience? Is that?
Yeah, I'll take. Yeah, very. Yeah, honestly, very preteen, like summer love. It's definitely like feel good. It's actually also sad. The mom has cancer, so actually, it's a little bit a mix of. Teen romance, but also really sad. There's so many people on social media saying that this new season that they're doing nothing but crying, but I'm here for the feel good stuff,
Have you seen the new Barbie movie?
Okay, that's where I don't know.
That's where you draw the line.
That's where I draw the line. I don't know if I have genuinely kind of no desire, but I've heard it's great. But I just think because I didn't grow up like loving, like I was a big American Girl doll gal, but I had two brothers, so like I did play with Barbies, but at the same time I was like rolling in the mud with my brother. So I'd say like the nostalgicness of it, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Are you?
Doesn't do it for you? Okay.
Yeah, but I might go see it.
No, I have no desire to see it. I was just thinking that maybe when we're done with the Dutton Rules podcast, in many years after many seasons, I probably owe it to you to do a podcast on The Summer I Turned Pretty or The Bachelor. Like my penance would be to kind of suck it up through all those kinds of shows.
Don't worry, I'll find a way to find something that will meet our audience and also be something that is doesn't have a bunch of guts and gore like Yellowstone. But I do love Yellowstone. Yellowstone though does that good job of like you have the romance, the drama that I like, and then you meet it with I don't know, blood.
Yeah, blood and a lot of cursing.
Yeah.
Okay, staff at tasteofcountry.com. Questions, comments. Often we read questions and comments, but it's been a while since we did this, so we don't have any today. Trivia will return when we kind of get back into the meat of the Yellowstone episodes.
That'll be fun
as well. And of course, we want your feedback on this project as well. But if you're just listening the normal way on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever, Slacker, which I guess is going away, just a thumbs up and follow and all those good things. And then, I don't know, we'll be back hopefully in a few weeks when we have a little bit more information or maybe a real show to talk about.
Heck yeah. Thanks y'all for listening. Always appreciate it. I'm glad we get to step into the Yellowstone universe again.
And the Yellowstone podcast is another
great Town Square Media podcast.
Great.